Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Laughing Place's latest edition of Disney Vacation Insights. I'm Rebekah Mosley, the site's co-founder, and with me is Heather. And Heather, what's your last name? Because I always want to say it, and then I'm worried I'm going to mispronounce it.
It's Groden.
Groden. Okay, Heather Groden of MEI Mouse Fan Travel, our partners here at Laughing Place. As always, we suggest that you contact a travel advisor when you are making a Disney vacation plan, and we recommend Mouse Fan Travel. But today, Heather, how are you?
I'm good. I know that I'm dressed like it's the frozen tundra because it's cold in my house, but it's going to be about 80 degrees here and sunny and like summer. We've skipped spring in Southern California. We've gone straight to summer, and so I'm actually kind of excited about it.
I felt kind of bad yesterday. I was sitting with my long sleeves and my sweatpants, and I even had a little heater on under my desk. I was chatting with a friend in Ohio, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm so cold. It's 67 degrees outside." And she was just,
That's how I feel. Every time I talk to my friends and family on the East Coast, they're like, "What is cold to you?" Because 60 degrees is not cold. I'm like, it is. I'm freezing.
but we thought we'd get together and chat a little bit about when to visit Disney, whether it's Disneyland, Disney World. When you're planning your Disney vacation, one of the first things you're going to be looking at is the time of year. So Heather, when someone is talking to you about a Disney vacation, what are your initial thoughts?
So a lot of clients come to me, especially kind of first-time visitors to a Disney park, or somebody who hasn't been often or in a long time. The first question I always get asked without fail is, when is the best time to go? And my response is always, depends on you. When does it fit into your schedule? Because best time means something different to everyone else. Like everyone has their own thought of best. And what I think is the best might not be your best. And so I kind of have to work with them and break down really what's important to them in terms of their vacation.
Yeah, that's one of the things I found too with travel writing. I was we were when we were talking a little bit beforehand. I haven't truly planned a Disney vacation in 20 years because it's become such a regular visit for me. But when I was planning them, it really was that we had vacation time here.
Yeah.
And so we're going to try and give you tips and tricks on kind of what to expect during different seasons of the year when you travel, because frankly, in my opinion, and I think Heather, you agree with me, anytime you can visit Disney is a good
I'm
time.
never saying no. I'm always going to go. Even if it's June in Orlando, I'm going.
Good morning, Rich. And that is one of the things that we'll touch on today. Maybe some ideas that we can share with you on if you do find yourself in the sweltering heat of Orlando. What are some survival tips you have, Heather? What pops into your head? Because I know I have a couple of ideas.
For Orlando in the summer, I lived there. And when I lived there, I didn't leave my house. It was the opposite of like folks in the winter up north, right? You stay inside all winter and go out in the summer. In Orlando, it's the opposite. But when you're there on vacation, you have no choice but to go out. So I find that my schedule differs if
Yeah.
I'm visiting in the heat and humidity. I'm not in the parks all day. I go early in the morning before the heat really sets in. I leave after lunch and I spend a really long time by the pool, and enjoying my resort, sitting in the air conditioning, relaxing like you're supposed to do on vacation. And then I'll head back to the parks for dinner. And so, yes, there's a lot less time spent in the parks for me personally in the summer, but I find I enjoy the trip a lot more versus just sweltering and being so miserable, and forcing myself to push through.
Yeah, when we found ourselves booking trips during kind of hotter times in Orlando when we were California residents, we would anchor our trip with um, dining reservations,
Mm-hmm.
because there was something about knowing that when we were in the midst of that heat, knowing that we had this period of time that was going to be our time in air conditioning, being waited on. It was just one of those things that kind of helped with the mental adaptation to what you were going through when you're in that heat.
Exactly. Like, because it really is overwhelming at times. And so you need to give yourself those little breaks. And then obviously water, hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. Soda's not going to cut it. Iced coffee is not going to cut it. You need to bring yourself a water bottle. to carry around with, and the parks make that so convenient now with all the refill stations. So I forever have my little emotional support water bottle with me.
Yeah, we bought a couple of the vacuum, those, heavy duty
Mhm.
stainless steel vacuum water bottles so that because you can go up to anywhere at Disney and Disneyland, Disney World, and ask for water, and they will give you beautiful
Mhm.
tap water. It's like that filtered water. It's not, you don't have
With
to
ice,
pay. Yeah,
filled with just cups of ice. I'm like, just please bring them my way.
yeah, and there's not a fee for that. You don't have to buy the bottles of water that you see at the ODB. You can simply go to the same place that has the burgers and all that and get yourself a nice refreshing glass of ice water. And sometimes at Walt Disney World, I've even seen where if it's particularly warm, they will set out over by Casey's. I've seen they have like a big jug of water just that you can go by and you can grab it, as you're walking by. So they do understand that you do need to hydrate. But so that's if you find yourself where your vacation time has got to be during that hotter weather. Ideally, weather-wise, if you're going to Walt Disney World, ideally, what months would you pick for weather for Florida and then for California? Because California can get hot too. It's just a different kind of
It's
hot.
a different kind of hot,
But I
and
used
it's a
to
different
visit
time of year.
I used to visit Disneyland in August, and it was always quite hot.
So for me, if the thing that equates to the best time for you is weather, because not everybody cares about the weather, but if what's going to make or break your trip is perfect weather, if you're going to Florida, I really like late February. It hasn't quite gotten so hot and humid yet, but you don't really need your jacket anymore because it does get cold in Orlando. I had winter coats and gloves and scarves in January and February. So it does get cold. So if you're looking for nice weather where you can go and have your shorts and your t-shirts, but not kind of be hit by a wall of humidity, late February was always my favorite, and November too. Sometimes November can be cold and sometimes it can be really gorgeous. But those tend to be my favorite times to go.
Rich is coming in with what was one of my favorite times to visit, and that was the first week of October. It could fluctuate. It could be a bit warm, but I really don't like cold. So I tended to book, if I was looking at weather, I
Mhm.
like to book something where I might be a little bit hotter, but I definitely wasn't going to be angling for something where I'm chilly. So yeah.
Well, October happens to be my favorite time to go, not for the weather, for
Okay.
other reasons, which we can get to. But I personally don't like the weather in October. I think the earlier you go in October, it's still incredibly hot and humid. And if you're there for Food and Wine Festival, it makes it really hard to want to eat the cheddar cheese soup in Canada or something really heavy when it's hot and humid. And October is also still hurricane season, and I have been there where I have been in the middle of a tropical storm in
Yep.
Epcot, and either the parks are shut down or I've been like stuck in mouse gear for an hour and a half because there's just walls of water. And so
True.
October, if for me, if we're looking solely at weather, it's a
Okay.
little too volatile for me to say this is the best time for weather.
Gotcha. What about Disneyland?
So
Because you've got various seasons out here too in California. What weather-wise? We'll focus on weather, then we'll move on to a different filter.
So I think weather in Disneyland overall is just better than Florida. In terms of vacation, there's just less variation, right? For the most part, like 90% of the year, it's sunny and beautiful, and there's no humidity. So for weather wise, I really love going, late February through probably July, early July, where it's warm but not uncomfortable. And then I would start again in October through mid November. Now, where it gets tricky is that in Southern California, we do have a winter, and our winter just means rain. And some years we get no rain, and it's just absolutely stunning. Last year and this year, it rained like 3 times a week. Sometimes it rained for multiple days at a time. So if you're looking to avoid or minimize your chance of rain as much as possible, I would skip November, December, and January. Of course, then you miss the gorgeous Christmas decorations. But in terms of weather, The rest of the year is nicer. September tends to be our hottest month of the year, so I would skip that as well. And by hot, I mean 110, 105. No humidity, but still hot, and you don't really want to keep going all day.
Yeah, it can be a tiring heat because it really does suck that moisture right out of you sometimes. Okay, so we've touched on weather a little bit. What are some other aspects of planning? What are some other, when your clients are talking to you, what are some other concerns or things that you point out to them when they're thinking about when to go?
Sure. So when they come to me and say, what is the best time to go? My response is whatever works in your schedule. Whenever you can go is when you should go. There's no best magical time where everything is going to align and everything is going to be perfect. But in terms of what they're really asking me, it could be about the weather, when is going to be the least hot and humid. Sometimes they're asking me about crowds, when is the least crowded. Other times they're asking me about cost, when does it cost the less. Other times it's about events. What special events are going on that I might want to attend? And so it's my job to break down the meaning. What do they really mean when they say when is the best time to go? It could be a combination of those things. It could be all of those things, or it could just be one that's so important to them. And I have to figure out which one that is and advise them that way. So I would say crowds is probably a big one. Everybody always wants to go when it's not crowded. And I'm here to break the bad news to you in that both Disneyland and Disney World, it is never not crowded. Ever. Full stop. There are times where they are slightly less crowded, but there's always going to be a crowd.
Do you talk at all about like dynamics regarding, I have found at Disneyland especially that if I can pull my body out of bed and be there at the beginning of the day, I can tackle a good portion of the park right in those first kind of early hours of the park, and then kind of slow down my pace for a while as the crowd really rises. Do you find similar dynamics with other parks? I'm most familiar with Disneyland in terms of that.
Yeah, of course. And no matter what it means, whatever's most important to you, crowds, pricing, weather, there's ways to manage that, right? So if having low crowds is going to make your perfect trip and that's when is the best time to go for you, we tackle management strategy. So yes, it's going to be crowded, but like you said, you can get out of bed early. You can stay at a Disney hotel, both on the East and West Coast, where they get early morning hours. So you're in the park 30 minutes before anybody else can get in there. And especially at Disneyland, you can basically knock out all of Fantasyland and be on your way to Space Mountain before they even open the gates to the rest of the public. And just by doing that, you've already set yourself up to have a good day. You can kind of calm down. You can also get yourself some Genie Plus on either coast, which is the new version of Fast Pass, where it's going to hold your space in line on attractions that you want to do. So there are ways to manage crowds. You just kind of have to be willing to put in a little bit of work. Get up early, or in Florida, if you stay at a deluxe resort or a deluxe villa resort, you not only get the early morning hours, but certain days of the week you get evening hours where you can be in the parks later after it closes to the public. So if you're a night owl, that's perfect for you. It's not going to be anybody there because it's later at night, and you can walk on everything.
Another kind of later at night option that's available from time to time in Walt Disney World are these after hours events where they have a limited number of attractions, so you can see if it's hitting the ones that you were really looking forward to in a specific park. But it's a later hour, shorter hour, late at night, shorter hour event for a ticket price. And sometimes I have taken advantage of that, where I'll stay and enjoy the amenities of my hotel and kind of have a more relaxing day at the hotel, and then instead of a full day in the parks, do that, kind of focused. They have a limited number of tickets that they sell, and so you can kind of go and experience a number of attractions in the park. Like I say, you can check ahead of time and see if those after hours events are hitting the ones that you want to make sure that you're really getting a taste of. I know, like at Hollywood Studios, Rise of Resistance, which is typically a long line, and Slinky Dog Dash are part of the after hours offerings. So that's a little tip that I've discovered over the years as well.
And they have those. They have a version of that also at Disneyland
Okay.
throughout the years, but they come with themes. So in February they have one that's like Sweethearts Night. So it's where like old timey Disney date night in the park that they used to do in the 50s. I know they're doing some Star Wars ones coming up in May. They have Pride nights, things like that. So the ones at Disneyland have themes to them, and they'll have different characters out. But I will say my favorite way to manage crowds. It is not a budget friendly way, but I will say it is the best way to manage crowds at any Disney park around the world is to hire a private VIP guide. It is, like I said, it is expensive, but it is worth every penny that you will spend. And basically, you have your very own plaid tour guide that can get you to the front of almost every line with little to no wait. Like if you wait 2 minutes for a ride, that's a lot. They walk you in through the Genie Plus entrance, or they walk you through a back secret entrance. You have your guide for 7 to 10 hours, your choice. And they basically just navigate you through the parks. You don't have to wait at the turnstiles. You can enter through a private entrance backstage. They'll transport you between parks if you'd like to go to more than one park a day. And if you have limited time or you are truly adverse to crowds, there is no better way to beat them than doing this.
I have participated in a private tour, and there's also just a concierge level of service because, as you say, you aren't entering through the park's main entrance. You, in our case, we actually traveled between a couple of different parks, and we were able to enter like the studios through over by I want to say it was the Lightning McQueen attractions. Really convenient to their signatures of Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror, and bottles of water, ice chilled bottles of water.
They'll show up with Mickey bars out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Also in like a park like Epcot or even Animal Kingdom that's super big, if you want to say ride Remy over in France, but then you also want to do Test Track, they will drive you backstage to Remy. You'll get out, you'll ride the ride. Maybe you'll do Soarin' while you're over there. You get back into your private van. They'll drive you around the park and park you next to Test Track. So you're not wasting time walking across the parks. You're not wasting energy. So there's things like that. They also make your dining reservations. So if you didn't, you can ask them to make your dining reservations, or perhaps there was one that you just didn't get. They have a special in with almost every single restaurant on property where they will just call. Like they have a whole team of people. It's not just your guide. They have a whole team of people sitting backstage on property waiting for the guides to call in and say, where do I go next? Is this ride down? What do I do here? And your guide will radio back to this department and say, I found out that they really want reservations at Coral Reef anywhere. And they'll get you that reservation. I would say like 9.5 times out of 10, they are successful in making that happen for you. So where you weren't able to do it, they can. So again, you pay for it, but what you get for the price, I promise you it's worth every penny.
And once again, if you're interested in a Disney vacation, we recommend our friends at Mouse Fan Travel. They're incredibly knowledgeable. They will help you maximize your trip. They will they have tremendous expertise and experience. They'll showcase to you maybe options like this that you were unaware of. So just really want to point you in the direction of our friends at Mouse Fan Travel. Oh, Heather, so let's see. So we've touched a little bit on crowds, a little bit on weather. What are some other realities of travel that you think about when you're thinking, when should I go?
I think cost is a big one for people, and sometimes the best time to go for someone is when it's least expensive. Especially Disney, it's a pricey vacation. It's not a budget vacation any longer, unfortunately. And so Disney's hotel prices aren't the same for every day of the year. There are different days of the week that are less expensive, and there's different months out of the year that are less expensive. And so if you're trying to keep costs down, perhaps you look to go when kids are in school. So right after Labor Day in September and early October, or early, like January is always a good one. Mid-November can sometimes be less expensive, but anytime kids are in school, the prices tend to go down at Disney because they're trying to entice people who don't have to stick to a school calendar to come and play. And then even on top of that, consider what days of the week you go. Sunday through Thursday nights are less expensive than weekends. Fridays and Saturdays are always pricier because that's when most people can afford to go, can get off of work to come. They're coming on their time off. So if you can take time off of work and go in the middle of the week, you're going to pay less. And so that's why, again, you want to use a travel planner because we know all these tips and tricks. And we can also, if you have 2 weeks that you're looking at, we can pull up rates and compare them and see, one, which has more availability, and two, which is less expensive for you. And there you go. It's taken care of. So we know how to play around with the schedule for you so that you're getting the best pricing.
If I'm kind of loosely considering a trip, how far in advance is it wise to be contacting a travel planner? I mean, what time frame should I start to reach out and ask these kinds of questions?
Well, I always say the earlier the better. With Disney, they technically release usually around a year in advance their rates. This year, for the first time ever, they are trying to entice people to book earlier. So they've actually already released their rates through October of 2025, which normally that wouldn't have come out until June-ish. So we can plan through October 2025, and I would encourage you to reach out and get that booked now. The reason being is the earlier you book, the more choice you have and the lower the rates. The longer you wait and the closer we get to your travel dates, the more chance there is that resort sells out or that specific room category you wanted sells out. So I say lock it in now. It's better to have it and then need to make changes down the line versus really wanting it later and it's not available. And when you book through us at Mousefan Travel, we're monitoring your reservation. So anytime Disney releases a discount, we're going to check your reservation and see if that discount will apply to your specific reservation. And if it lowers the rates, we're going to get that applied for you. So you're getting a better price than what you initially had. But you're also locked in at that first rate so that if the prices go up, you don't have to pay the higher prices. Especially with Disney, they raise their ticket prices every so often. They're changing their hotel pricing constantly. So get it locked in early, lock in that availability, lock in that price, and then if a better price comes out, we're going to get that applied for you.
And that addresses the question that my husband had asked of, if I plan too far out, will I miss out on a discount? And no, especially when you reach out and have these plans made through travel advisor like Mousefan Travel, because they will help out and let you know when discounts arrive that apply to your travel plans. So
Disney is not going to let you know if your vacation is qualified for a lower rate. They want to keep your money as much as possible. So, let us do that work for you and you don't have to worry about it.
Fantastic. In regards to budgets, what are some of the benefits and reasons to consider the varying levels of hotel? Because the prices vary widely in regards to Walt Disney World. So can we touch on that just a little bit? I know that's like a whole topic on its own, but just to kind of, tease people a little bit with it.
Sure. So Disney, and again, this is where your travel planner can help you, but Disney has 4 levels of hotels: value, moderate, deluxe, and deluxe villa. And like the names kind of imply, the value resorts are going to be the lowest cost and the deluxe villas will be the highest cost. But there's a whole load of amenities and benefits in each different tier. So maybe cost is most important to you, but maybe value is actually more important to you. So if you wind up paying a few $100s more, you can go from a value resort to a moderate resort, which would have more dining options, slides in their pools, sometimes more pools, and bigger rooms. And then you go up to the deluxe category, and yes, you're paying more than the value or the moderates, but you're getting more for your money. So still the rooms are bigger. You're going to have balconies in your room. You're going to have multiple dining options. You're going to be located the closest to the theme park. So you might have multiple modes of transportation to a theme park, or in some cases, you could probably walk to one or two. And then still further, you go to the deluxe villa resorts, which have all of the benefits from the deluxe, but then the rooms are the biggest. So you'll have full kitchens depending on the villa you choose. You could have 1, 2, or 3 bedrooms. You can sleep up to 12 people. My favorite thing is the washer and dryer that the villas include, because especially if you have kids, they're dirty, constantly doing laundry, but I like to just do laundry the last night of my trip. This way everything is clean and packed and I don't have to do it when I get home. So depending on your budget, there's a resort for you, but you might also want to consider the value of paying just a tiny bit more and what you would get for that money.
Yeah, as Doobie pointed out, yeah, I too never made the connection that there were not pool slides at the values. So yeah, okay. And I
And
love.
also in the values, they only have food courts, which is great in the mornings for a quick breakfast. But what if you come back to the hotel at night and you just want a nice dinner? You want to sit down, you want somebody to take care of you. Values don't have that. So this is when you reach out to your travel planner and explain things that are important to you on vacation, and they'll be able to steer you in the direction of the correct hotels that offer those amenities.
And I know Heather would suggest that to you because that's not even something I would have thought about in my thinking about my day. And I can totally envision you being like, okay, so when you come back from the end of the day, what are you looking forward to? And if I'd be
I
like,
feel like sometimes I annoy my clients because, like, even long-time clients that have been to Disney along like millions of times, I'm like, but what do you want to do at night? And your hotel doesn't have this, and they're like, we know, but it's my job to make
yeah,
sure you're picturing your vacation. Because what if you don't say these things to me, and then you get to Pop Century and you are so disappointed because there's no slides for the kids to play on, and you have nowhere to sit and relax at night? Like those are things that you probably don't think about in the beginning of planning, but it might make or break your experience once you're there.
oh, exactly. Okay, so we've discussed a little bit of the weather, a little bit of the crowds, we've discussed budget. Anything else that you make sure to bring to mind when people are thinking about when to try? I mean, I know one that comes to my mind are simply the offerings,
Mm-hmm.
because when it comes to Disney theme parks, the seasons bring you different experiences. Disneyland is different in January, February with the holiday season ending. You've got that Lunar New Year festival happening over at California Adventure. Similarly, down in Florida, right, we've got the beautiful Festival of the Arts at Epcot. So, what are some of your favorite seasons that you make sure that your clients are aware of?
Well, so everybody has a different right? You might be a gardener, so you want to go to Disney World in the spring for Flower and Garden Festival, but Disney offers so many special events and like parties and different things at different times of the year to kind of keep their local guests coming back. I am very firmly a fall traveler. Like I mentioned, I love October. It's my favorite time to go, not for the weather, but the special events. If I'm going to Florida, they have Food and Wine Festival that is hands down, in my opinion, the best festival that Disney offers. I love that so intensely, but they also have all of their parks decorated for Halloween. Disneyland is the same. Everything is decorated for Halloween. Both coasts have after hours Halloween parties. I'm just a fall kind of girl. I love it more than I love Christmas. So for me, that's my favorite time to go. I love Food and Wine and Halloween, but then everyone else, maybe you love Christmas and you love that magic and you want to see the snow fall on Main Street and the castle and all the lights. That you're going to want to go from, mid-November to early January. I love Festival of the Arts too, like you mentioned. That's the newish festival of all of the Disney festivals, and that happens in January and February. So if you are into the arts, both fine or performing, that's when you want to go.
Very, very yay. Okay. No, like I say, I think when we were chatting about this topic, it was like really the best time is whenever you
When
can
you
go.
can get, when does it work for you? That's the best time. Full stop.
And reaching out to a travel advisor like those at Mouse Fan Travel, they will help you navigate and make it the best for you. They will help you kind of navigate whatever are the unique aspects of that season or time that you find your family is planning to visit Disney. So Yay. Oh, I love talking Disney. I want to talk more. But I think that's I think we've covered most of the topic points that we discussed. Heather, was there anything else that you want to leave the audience with before we sign off on this week's edition?
Yes, don't stress. You're going to have a great time no matter when you can go. You're going to enjoy yourself. You're never going to have a bad time, and a little research is your friend. You don't have to spend hours on the blogs. You don't have to watch all the YouTube videos, but do a couple, right? Get yourself familiar with what it's like to travel when you're going, what your hotel offers, and what rides there are. So this way you have a little bit of a strategy. You don't need to have every second planned out, but I think going in informed will calm you down, help you be less stressed, know what to expect, and you're going to have a fantastic time.
Disney is a hospitality company, and they're amazing at the experiences that they provide to their guests. And one of the things that I always try to encourage my friends who are going maybe for the first time is to not try and have every moment scheduled, because give it room to breathe and give them a chance to surprise you.
Yeah, if you have every moment scheduled, you're going to miss out on the magic. You hear people talk about Disney magic, and what does that mean? It just means that you stumbled into the right place at the right time, and it was something as simple as being handed a Mickey ice cream bar, or there was a surprise meeting with a certain character that came out of nowhere, and you just had this character all to yourself. Disney's great at the unexpected, and if you slow down and just take some time to look around and meander, you're going to find it. And that's what I think Disney does far better than any other theme park company in the world, is just giving you those moments of unexpected delight.
Totally agree. So once again, want to recommend our friends over at Mouse Fan Travel. Thanks so much for your time, Heather. Oh, I think maybe next time we can talk more about hotels, because
yes, let's do that. I think that's a big, broad topic, and that it deserves a little focus for sure.
So stick around. We'll be back soon with that topic. Follow us here on Laughing Place. You can follow Laughing Place for all your Disney news and updates. I know later today I'll be back discussing Disney merchandise, and we've got a live trivia show right here on this YouTube channel this evening. So we will see you all real soon. Bye for now.
Bye.